If you are a real estate agent and you are tired of paying for ads that flat out don't work, cold calling, door knocking, all the same old stuff that just seems to be getting you stuck in a rut, well, this is the channel for you. We are three rock star agents who have come together with over 50 plus years in the training and sales industry, and we are hoping to pass that knowledge on to you. So subscribe to the channel and get ready to learn. Let's get started.
Renee is actually, she's just a leader down you're in the Orlando area, right, Renee?
Yes, ma'am. Specifically Windermere, Florida, which is in Orlando.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So there you go, guys, for your referrals. If you've got them, she would be a great one. So she actually is a coach. She's a trainer to real estate agents. She has had the distinct recognition in Success Magazine as the top 125 influential leaders to know in the real estate business. So she also has been recognized in Real Trends for the last 6 consecutive years from 2019 to 2024. And she has an actual brick and mortar down in her area and has 150 agents in that office with her. And her team, they represented over 1,000 families for $500 million in sales volume in 23 and 24. In addition to all of that, she has been named as an Exactly What to Say. If you've not read that book, I highly recommend that book. It's a book called Exactly What to Say, and she's a certified guide. She's only one of 6 that's a certified guide to really teach that book on exactly what to say. And that shows up in her conversations with her clients and all. So I'm sure she'll be touching on some of that today. So Renee, super excited to have you. Wow, your accolades are awesome.
Well,
So kudos
hello
to all
there,
your
Jeff.
success.
Oh, thank you. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Kathy. Hello, everyone. Good morning. And if you're in the Eastern time zone, maybe we're closing in on lunchtime. I'm coming to you, as Kathy said, from Orlando, Florida, specifically Windermere, Florida. So I have a little reminder how you can pinpoint that on the map. Every day when I walk my dog, I get to hear Walt Disney's train from my community as we take a walk. So we're close. Windermere is the first town north of Walt Disney World. And if we like crick our neck around the trees a little bit, we can see fireworks every single night of the year. That is where I'm coming to you from. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And I'm a camera on kind of girl. So as long as you're not driving and it's safe to do so, I don't care if you have makeup on. I don't care if you did your hair, throw a baseball cap on. It doesn't matter. You are who you are, show up. The flexibility of how we get to work with each other at eXp Realty is king, right? So turn your camera on. It's so much better. I'm going to share my screen. One of the differentiators all eXp agents have is we get to do things like this and collaborate. When Kathy reached out, I said, absolutely. I love sharing with other agents. I get to talk to a lot of agents who are considering making moves in the industry. And one of the common denominators that other agents have still to this day, and I've been at eXp Realty 8 years, coming up on my 8-year anniversary for September 1st, is most other agents still tell me that they walk through the halls in their office and it's a bunch of closed doors. What do we know to be true as a superpower that each and every one of us hold in our hand is that there's no gatekeeping. And a part of that is I'm going to share with you in real time today some of the differentiators that the Funk collection here in Orlando utilize when we're working with sellers, prospective sellers. And let me get my screen set up here. I'm going to move you all over here. Let me get in presentation mode because I think you can see my screen, but you probably see all of Canva. So give me 1 second here. Now you can see it, right? Your price reduction is not marketing. You guys have me? I bet you're a bit like me and you don't like being talked at. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk at you for the next 45 minutes. In fact, Kathy or Jeff, if you need to cut me off, just like, pull the cord and say, hey, Renee, we're running out of time. My encouragement to each and every one of you is that you feel free to open your mics, drop it into chat. I'll do my best to pay attention to chat. And so in case I have it, let me see, moved over here. I think I'm all set up. Awesome. What we're going to be talking today about is something that many markets and many agents are experiencing, and that is listings maybe sitting a little longer. This is not a catastrophe. It's not a everyone freak out mode. Many markets are seeing listings sit a little longer. What do we do when that happens? We're going to talk about that today. And first, I'd like to start with Jeff, Kathy, how many times do you have a meeting and we have to remind ourselves that presence is a gift? If you gave yourself the gift to be here for the next 40-ish or so minutes, I invite you to be fully present. In fact, a little pro tip, every meeting the Funk Collection starts, we start with this slide. And that is a reminder because we're all getting pulled in 1,000 different directions. I feel it. You all feel it. Give me a nod. You feel it. You're pulled in 1,000 different directions. Your cell phone is probably going to ping you 37,000 times in the next 40 minutes. Give yourself the gift, give the room the gift to say, I'm fully present. And if you need a hack for that, look down at your feet. Be present where your feet are. That intentionality makes all the difference in your world. Feel free to open your mic or drop it into chat. When was the last time you noticed or had a listing that you knew needed a price reduction? When was the last time you noticed or had a listing that you knew needed a price reduction? Jeff says today, right? Today. This month, Kathy says. It's happening a little more frequently, right? There's 3 types of agents right now as it relates to listings. There's what we call the collector. Those are agents who go to listing consultations and choose to just collect as many listings that they have. This is where I'll insert opinion. And then those collectors of listings typically position themselves to have to beat down the seller. Oh, don't worry, let me just put signs in the ground. I'll collect as many as possible and then I'll deal with it later and beat the seller down. That's one type. The next type of agent is a type of agent I have a lot of affinity for, and that's called the rising up agent. The rising up agent is an agent who maybe hasn't dabbled too much in listings. They've probably had a few listings. Maybe a rising up agent might be someone who acquired a real estate license over the last 5 years or so. That rising up agent maybe doesn't have a huge portfolio of listings, but they have grit, they have determination, they have skill, they can do it. What the rising up agent is lacking and has untapped opportunity with, though, is context. You see, a rising up agent is someone who hasn't had the gift of context of the next type of agent, which is an agent who's an educator and advisor who probably has been in the industry for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. That educator and advisor, they are the third type of agent, and they have the gift of context to be able to say, I've been around long enough to see many different seasons in the market, including times where here in Orlando, especially on the luxury side, if we go back to 2013, 2014, a luxury listing, we wouldn't acquire a listing that didn't have a year term of time on that listing agreement. That was the norm. When ADOM, an average days on market, is somewhere around 180 days, smart real estate pros do not take listing agreements with the term of time that doesn't position them with clarity to the seller on how to do their job properly, which brings me to the earn the job, keep the job. The last few years in the real estate market, let's call it what it was. It was a unicorn couple of years. There was a tiny bit of skill involved in those unicorn years. However, most of what agents did wasn't the kind of skill-based need that made us roll up our sleeves like super high and say, it's not enough to earn the job. We're now in a market we have to focus on keeping the job. There's a North Star at the Funk Collection, and I hear Jeff say that Leo Pereira is coming in next week. Leo is someone who taught me a bit of this. If you look at the position that eXp Realty put each and every one of us in last year as we very skillfully navigated regulations change, perhaps the biggest regulations change the industry has seen, what we did is we all positioned ourselves with this North Star. Through change, think about how can you be better than your fee, which means you're elevating your service with our sellers especially, better than your fee, so that you can then stand confidently in your fee for services and you can deliver maximum value. If you write anything down from our time together today, it's this: be better than your fee. Who on this call's heard of Mike Del Prete? I see Jeff's hands up, Kathy's hands up. If you haven't followed yet Mike Del Preti, I would highly encourage you to do so. I'm not sending you to follow some typical influencer in the real estate space. Mike Del Preti is actually a data analyst in the real estate industry. He's based out of Boulder, Colorado, which I have a newer affinity for Colorado, by the way. My son goes to University of Denver and he's going into his second year. So for our Colorado friends, like much love. I spend more time there. Let's connect if you're there. Just because this Florida girl's in Florida a lot doesn't mean you might not find me in Denver. Well, Mike Del Preti's in Boulder, Colorado, and he is not affiliated with a single brokerage. He has no brokerage interest whatsoever. What does Mike do? Mike analyzes real estate data. With no propaganda, he focuses on the true data. I was a speaker at a conference in Charleston, South Carolina a couple months ago together with Mike Del Preti. And as I sat in the front row listening to Mike, because he's super smart and super clear. If you're not following him, go give him a follow. He's great. Mike shared a study he did, which was asking sellers in a variety of markets with many different brokerages what was the number one frustrating point that they had when working with agents. Lack of responsiveness. Mike Del Preti found lack of responsiveness. Now, responsiveness is a subjective word, right? We might think we're responsive. Well, let's unpack that. Go a little further. What are 3 reasons sellers fire agents? This is a study by HomeLight. Number 1, poor communication. Number 2, lack of attention and support. Sounds very similar, right? Number 3 is unmet expectations, which feels like that might tie to lack of responsiveness as well. Study by NAR, quite interesting. 91% of realtors prefer to communicate with clients via text, but it has been found that the consumers may not align with the fact that we like text. So are we meeting our consumers where they want to be met? When was the last time you asked, and this is buy side, sell side, whichever side, your prospects, your clients, how do you prefer to be communicated with? You see, this is all about building the stage of being better than their fee. I started this conversation saying, well, your price reduction isn't marketing. How are we tying all this together? I wonder. Now, this is where I'm going to ask you to get interactive. How often do you give your sellers update as a listing agent? Drop it into chat or feel free to open your mic. How often do you give your sellers updates?
Weekly.
I heard Andrea weekly. Love it. Tracy says weekly. Jeff weekly. Brian Decker 2 to 3 times a week. Brian Decker, overachiever Brian. No, I'm just kidding. That's awesome. 2 to 3 times a week. Deborah Lopez says weekly. Okay, get ready. Cher, I see you weekly. It's very common, right? Weekly updates. Sounds like there's a lot of similarity there. As a real estate trainer and coach, this is where I'm going to do an embedded command. I'm just going to put the ugliness on the table. Go ahead and roll your eyes at me. Roll your eyes, because you're about to say to me, oh, Renee, really? Do I really have to? Just roll your eyes. And then I'm going to say to you, you don't have to. However, in a sea of sameness that's present in the real estate industry, who is open-minded to approaching the service we provide just a hair bit differently? Why is sending weekly updates alone not enough? 65% of consumers are visual or auditory learners. 65%. You see this tying into the consumer's perception that the industry is giving a lack of responsiveness. Is it that we're not responding, or is it that we're not responding in a way that they feel heard and seen and understood? You see, in 2025, who on this call feels inundated with data? You feel inundated with data? Do we need any more ideas? AI, speed of content. There used to be, data that would say that our videos and our short form, if you, did a short form that was 20 seconds, you were fine. Now they're saying if you don't have a hook that's so punchy, stop the scroll in less than a second. Really? Our sellers don't need a data dump. This is where you roll your eyes at me. I did it too. I used to send weekly updates in an email. I used to send weekly updates, just send the information. What we found is there was no connection to the data. Our sellers need data dialogue. Write that down. Stop data dumps. Start data dialogues. Remember, our consumers prefer visual and auditory. So what does that mean? Well, let me give you a little backstory. Been a listing agent for a lot of years, and I'm married to my favorite realtor in the entire industry. His name's Renee Funk. We've been together for a little more than 25 years, and I keep forgetting the number. He'll probably wet noodle me later and like give me a little, hey, why can't you remember? If you find him or you see him, just tell him, she couldn't remember how many years. That just means I love him a whole lot. We've worked together for over 20 years of our time together. So we've been doing this thing for a long time. Way back when we took listings that were 12 months, maybe 9 months, right? We took longer listing terms. It was very common for us to update our sellers on the regular. And back then, most updates were via email, sometimes via phone call. There weren't solutions like Google Meets, Zoom, video conferencing. Fast forward to 2023 when the market showed signs of some gentle slowing. Nothing crazy, just gentle. I got a call from one of the sellers that a team member on the Funk collection was representing. They were still on the market. It was probably about 5 days on the market. So there was a gentle shift of like not listing on Thursday and having multiple offers by Saturday night, right? We're 5 days in and there's been 27 showings and only one offer. What's going on? Renee, your agent isn't communicating with me. And I went, hold on a second. Through 2020, 2021, 2022, I lost sight of what was most important. In a rapid accelerating market, we forgot to go back to proper updates with our sellers. We forgot because we listed on a Thursday. We entertained all the offers by Sunday night and we were reviewing spreadsheets with sellers on Monday, and typically properties were under contract on Monday night. In that moment, that seller gave me a gift. You see, if someone calls you to give you feedback and it's not desirable, reframe that. Simple swap. That's a gift for you to say, what could we do differently to improve? What could we do differently to untap new opportunity? And what could we do differently to further earn the relationship? So that moment, I went back to Jeff, my husband, my favorite realtor on the planet. And I said, we forgot. It's been so many years and the market is different. We need to be doing updates on the regular. However, we're off the heels of 2020 and quarantine and video conferencing galore. What if we kick it up a notch? What if we think differently and implement this one shift? We're in the listing consultation at the day, sitting at the kitchen table with the sellers. We acquire the listing. Seller says, yes, I'm hiring the Funk collection. What do we say? We say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller. Most sellers find value in a brief 15-minute update every week. Whereas I will drop this time on your calendar with a link to Google Meets, Google Zoom, FaceTime, whatever it is. You call it whatever you want, whatever video conferencing. My ask is this. I don't care if you're on camera, but I need you present, fully present, and I need you to be able to see what I show you. I'm going to share my screen. You see, it's not enough for me to just send you information and stew on it. What's important is that you and I, the listing agent, the seller, and the market are aligned like this. And one of the ways we accomplish that is by me showing you what has transpired last 7 days. Most seller updates are on Tuesday mornings. Could it be possible I grab you for about 15 minutes, 9:45 to 10 a.m.? How does that work for you? Most of the time they say yes. We try to push and schedule a time block of all of our seller updates on the same morning. Every once in a while, you might have a seller that says, hey, can I have Thursday at 3? Whatever. The key is pick a time, block it out on their calendar. Pre-schedule in that moment, 15-minute time blocks, same day, same time, 4 weeks in a row. Just drop it in there, reoccurring meeting. Put the access link, get it scheduled out. Are you rolling your eyes at me? Oh my goodness. What will you cover on your weekly updates? Well, there are 7 questions, 7 data points that every seller must review because there's detail in the data. I'm going to go over a few of those questions. In fact, I'm going to give you one of my favorite questions, but at the end, I'll give you a link to get this full download. You can have it. It's the full worksheet because if you're a paper person like I am, I like having paper. So this is the full weekly worksheet that we do with our sellers. Let's talk about I'll do it opposite. They say when we're speaking and training, we should save some of the best for last. I'm going to give it to you right in the beginning. Is one of the most overlooked data points that agents are not reviewing with their sellers is this. In the days that your subject listing has been on market, look at comp properties. So if your subject listing has been on the market 15 days, look at all the comps in that 15 days that have had a status change from active to pending. When you speak with your seller on your weekly Zoom, no more emails, no more data dumps, you simple swap and you call this, let's take a look at the properties buyers chose over the subject property. Now you notice we start, language is everything. Our communication strategy is everything. We start disassociating sellers from the property. When you work with buyers, it's a home. When you work with sellers, it's a property. When you're talking to sellers, let's have some empathy. They have a lot of emotion tied in. They're literally packing their belongings into boxes and preparing to move everything they own. I'd like us to pause on that for a second because that gets lost in translation. We are all very transactional. We do this for a living. In fact, there's a skill set for us to remain transactional, for us to remove emotion. That's one of the reasons we earn income, is to remove emotion. However, I'm going to ask you this. When was the last time you moved your primary residence? Please don't lose sight of the fact that these sellers, because I hear agents sometimes say, the sellers are unreasonable. They're emotional. Stop that. I'm just going to put it out there. Stop that. Let's remember the empathy. In 2023, we remodeled our house in Windermere, like fully remodeled, had to move out for a year. That meant that we had to fully pack everything we owned. And it was in that moment that I was recentered with some empathy skills, because as I packed up in the boxes, my 2 boys' kindergarten drawings, that's real, and wrote on the box. That elicits emotion. So when we're talking to our sellers, start that process. If you say, hey, Jeff, let's take a look at the properties that buyers chose over your home, that doesn't land. That's going to elicit some emotion. It might even offend. Rather, hey, Jeff, the last 7 days, 6 properties have switched to pending. Those 6 properties means that buyers in the marketplace chose those 6 over the subject property. Let's take a look. And you're showing your screen and literally showing your MLS and saying, let's take a look. How does this kitchen compare to the subject property? Maybe the backsplash was updated. Maybe it was a full kitchen remodel. Maybe the front elevation, maybe they did a full landscaping remodel, right? Maybe it's a new roof. Whatever it is, focus in on what the difference is and then ask the seller for that one important data point that's often overlooked. How do you feel this property compares to the subject property? You see, when you start leaning into curiosity, number one, curiosity is the fuel for great conversations. Curiosity also means you're in control of the conversation. Curiosity with the seller means you cannot be wrong because you're gaining context to what the seller's feeling. What's a couple other questions on this checklist that you're reviewing is, of course, you're going to look at what new active comparable properties hit the market. You see, we know that when we're pricing to come up with strategic pricing on a listing, we know that there's certain ways we approach the data. We get it. In this moment, though, we're in weekly updates with sellers, and it's critical that we look at competition because we have to get the seller to put their buyer's hat on and say, here's all of the new active listings that are competition to the subject listing. That means, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the buyer is going to drive from property to property. And if you're in a market like me in Orlando, please, 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 in this update, include any new construction. In this update, include, you're the pro. Hey, this builder just included a new incentive in the last 7 days. That's competition for us. The buyer's driving from property to property to see that, right? Include that. You also want to make sure, and it's on this form, which you will get at the end. Tracy, is the checklist supposed to be on the screen? It's not. It's by design. I should have shared that with you. I'll give you the access to the full checklist at the end. I want to keep our time tight here. I usually teach listing accelerator class that goes multiple weeks. And so when Kathy and Jeff reached out, I was like, yep, I'm going to go super fast. We're moving super fast, top level. Another data point you want to make sure you're covering as far as one of the 7 is your open houses. How many open houses did you host, and how many visitors attended? Not how many buyers, how many visitors. There's a difference. Many times I talk to agents who host open houses and they'll say, well, I had 3 buyers and there were like 12 people in total. What? The full number is 12 visitors. Then you can go deeper as to what those visitors were. You might have had the number 1 visitor type at an open house that agents overlook is the quote unquote nosy neighbor. Those are called community connectors. They're the most important visitor type. Yeah, but Renee, community connectors will tell me that they don't ever want to sell or buy. Well, if we're agents who focus only on a transaction, then we're focusing on the wrong thing. Community connectors is who the smart agent builds relationship with, because they are the person that cascades the information. They cascade exposure. Don't forget to talk to your sellers about the total number of visitors to your open house. And for the full list, I will make sure you get it at the end. Let's talk about a few critical simple swaps. Kathy set the stage at the beginning. I'm an exactly what to say certified guide. In total, Kathy, there's about 30 of us. However, there's only about 6 of those 30 who are able to certify others. And I do different trainings through exactly what to say. If we're not connected on Instagram yet, find me on Instagram, make sure we're connected, and send me a DM. If you send me a DM, I will send you a copy of this custom edition. Simple swaps. Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, let's look at what buyers chose this week and assess together why that matters. You're not a sea of sameness agent. Where are the opportunities that you can simple swap your language that sets you apart? Mr. Seller, are you open-minded to walk through the comps together so you can see exactly what I see? Remember, the listing agent, the seller, and the market need to be tightly aligned like this. It doesn't happen in data dumps. It happens in data dialogues. Sellers, here's what the market's trying to tell us. Would it be helpful if I shared 3 strategies we can respond with? The difference between the pro and an agent who's fumbling is agents, if you're sending information, there's no strategy opportunity. You're missing opportunity. As opposed to being in the conversation together, now you can get into if this, then that scenarios. You can do forecast strategies. You could say, well, here's 3 strategies today. And if this property doesn't see 5+ showings in the next 7 days, then here's the next strategy we can deploy next week based on X, Y, and Z. That's a miss if you're not in a dialogue. How am I doing on time, Kathy?
You're doing great.
How much time do we have?
We've got 25 minutes till we're kind of at the top of the class.
Awesome.
So as much as time as you want to leave for Q&A, or if you've got enough information, keep going till 11, and then we won't do Q&A. Whatever is most comfortable.
We can absolutely do Q&A, and if someone has a question now and they want to drop it into chat, please feel free to let me know, because it is a lot to cover. I love this topic, especially in a shifting market. I skipped through a couple slides, one of which is we can go real deep on, make sure on your weekly updates that you're talking about what marketing tasks you've completed in the last 7 days that optimizes exposure for the listing. And it's a section on the worksheet. Now, agents,
Renee, that's included in when you have a QR or whatever you're going to do at the end, that's included, the marketing.
Yep. And get nitty gritty here, right? Also think about, how do you set yourself apart that you're not a sea of sameness agent? Earn the job, keep the job. Most other agents, when they talk about marketing tasks last 7 days, are going to say something like, oh, well, it got, X number of views and hits on Zillow, and they're going to say all the same things. Let's get into the true differentiators. How many colleague agents in the industry, in the market, did you speak to who have comp properties? Did you call them? Share it, especially the ones that maybe had a listing that went from active to pending. Maybe one that went from pending to sold. Look at all the comps. Talk to those agents. What are you experiencing in the marketplace? Now bring that intel back to the seller and say, you know what? I made 6 phone calls the last 5 days. I spoke specifically to targeted agents in the market, and here's why I spoke to them and why it matters most. Talk to your lenders. Talk to title reps. Share with the seller. These are the conversations I'm having, and this is what I'm gaining. And then lastly, on the topic of, your weekly updates and when you're talking about different conversations you're having is if there's no change in the last 7 days, how important is it that the agent doesn't bury their head in the sand? Does no change equal no update? No change means show up and say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, no change. There's no change. And that in and of itself is a data point that you as a pro can say, here's what many sellers have found when faced with this next step. Go back to Mike Del Preti's study. What's the number one reason why sellers are frustrated with their agent? Lack of responsiveness, lack of responsiveness. So I know darn well this group, we're not going to ever bury our head in the sand, right? No change means you still show up. Now, what are some of the steps that listing pros are taking before a reduction? What we find is that everything I've shared with you so far usually prevents a reduction. Believe it or not, the more communicative we are, the more we're showing what's going on, the more reductions can be reduced. Okay? What additional steps can listing pros take? We call this a listing refresh and audit. There's a few data points agents are missing all the time. This may be a slight eye roll, but maybe not too much. I wish in 2025 our industry didn't have to talk about table stakes conversations like photography optimization, though it never hurts to revisit some of the tried and true. These are still ways you can stand out. And you can tell this by your MLS because I'm sure your MLS looks like mine, which is still riddled with a bunch of non-professional photographs. So talk about those photographs. Make sure you have a hero image that stops the scroll. The first image is critical. Stay compliant to your MLS. Your MLS may have certain rules of what you have to follow for that first image. Stay compliant, and within those guidelines, choose the best image. We as marketers have to earn every single click. Remember what I was saying in the beginning, that now the consumer moves so fast, they'll just scroll right through something? Put your money shots up front. Please do not be the agent who lists properties that starts the listing with, well, the photographer sent the photos in the order like this, so I'm going to take that download and automatically just upload it in the MLS. And it's got 37 front elevations from 37 angles, 27 kitchen, 35 living room. Please don't be that agent. Think about this. We're marketers that has to earn every click. Put your first 5 to 10 money shots, the money shots that matter, up front. Think lifestyle, not features. Think about the house through the lens of what will the buyer gain and acquire from the lifestyle that this property will afford them. Let's talk a little bit on the other side, public remarks. You can go to my Instagram and see some videos on this. AI is driving me absolutely bonkers. Agents, we all as an industry need to do better. I will not tell you that AI is not a good tool. It's a great tool when used responsibly. However, your MLS might also be like mine here in Orlando, that we can go into the MLS at any given time and you can scroll one after the other and you can sniff AI on the scroll. Welcome to 123 Banana Street, this beautiful, wonderful, stunning, breathtaking property with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. It's nestled in the corner of whatever community. Never seen as many homes nestled in corners. Never seen as many listings that start with welcome to 123 Banana Street. Is what I'm saying resonating with you? Think about your public remarks. Are you laughing, Kathy?
Definitely laughing. Yeah.
It's think of it in a way, this is another area for you to stand out. Avoid embellishing descriptives, avoid industry jargon, avoid abbreviations. You can go on and read all sorts of education and guidance and studies that talk about when you're writing things, you need to write them at a kindergarten level, very clear, and the consumers can smell it. Do you know in the last month, the team here in Orlando, the Funk Collection, has earned 3 listings. And one of the things that tipped the scale is we created doubt in other listing agents. We didn't talk about who, but we showed examples on the MLS because we show our screen in our MLS a lot because it's a tool that the customer doesn't have. And we show other agents use of AI and it all looks the same. And then we show examples of ours and how we do it differently. So that one data point can help you. Check the portals. See all the portals. They're all different. See how your listing is syndicating. Look on mobile and desktop. And the reason you should do that is because you want to look at how the listing is presented. If you go to Zillow and you see those same 37 images that are all varying images of the front elevation, that means that you took Zillow's most prominent canvas where all the images are queued up and you put the same image there, which isn't stopping the scroll. Look at both desktop and mobile where the public remarks are, and you'll see what's above the fold. That means whatever the public remarks are that are before the consumer has to scroll or click. It's usually in most portals less than 2 sentences, and sometimes it's only 1 sentence. Optimize that space to not say 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. They already know it's 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. The stats of the listing show it. Say something different like sunset view, fireworks view, new roof, whatever some of the key marketing differentiators are, put those words up front above the scroll, above the fold. And please, please, pretty please with icing on top, check desktop and mobile. This is a part of your audit when it first goes live. It's also something you should be doing if you're holding a listing right now. Do an audit and look at all these data points. All right, we're going to open it up for Q&A. If you would like the preparation checklist, which goes over all the 7 data points and more, go ahead and first you have to be connected with me on Instagram, Renee Funk, and then send me a DM that says seller checklist, and you'll get the full download. As well as that is where you can send me a DM, because I would be more than happy to send y'all a copy of the custom edition of Exactly What to Say. So just go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Seller checklist is the DM. Okay, Q&A. What do we have? Feel free to open it up. Open your mic, drop it into chat.
Comments,
That was
questions?
great stuff, Renee.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Who has some comments or questions for Renee? We've got about 15 minutes or so.
I do. So what do you say when an appraisal comes in $30,000 less?
So you're on the market, you're under contract, and the appraisal comes in less. What is the conversation you're having at the kitchen table when you're acquiring the listing to prepare the seller for that happening?
The house has been on the market probably 60 days now, and there's been apparently 2 or 3 that have sold. We got Tidewater called because it's a VA. There's plenty of there are plenty of comps, but the appraiser chose to use the closest ones and the newest ones, which unfortunately they decided to close less than they put their house on the market for.
Okay, and how important is it that you represent the seller, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How important is it that the seller sells this property within the next 14 to 30 days?
I don't know. I gotta call them and ask him because they're ready to close Monday.
You see, there's a lot that can be unpacked there, Kelly. In that moment, as the listing agent, especially going back to the original driver that you learned at the listing consultation table is going to be key. One of the most impactful questions that agents can ask our sellers early, and I mean super early, usually your first discovery call, is when would you like the transaction completed by? We ask buyers and sellers that question. Now, even to kick that up a notch is you've learned a little bit about them and you ask the seller, you mentioned that you want to upsize, you need 5 bedrooms instead of 3, you're looking for a kitchen that enables you to entertain. Fantastic, got it. How important is it you have 5 bedrooms instead of 3? Before October? No, really, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important? And then agent shuts up. The next person who speaks has to be the client. What you're unpacking there is setting the stage on how to answer that question, Kelly, because I can't answer that question for the seller. What needs to be unpacked, if it isn't already, is how important is it that they achieve that next step that they're aiming to achieve? And then what are the consequences if this doesn't close as scheduled? That help? One of the most impactful questions. How important is it you accomplish X by Y? No, really, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it?
Really understand what they're looking to do and when.
Right. And why?
Yeah.
Renee, I have a question. So I have done one of the things that you've talked about, calling other agents when they've gone pending and communicated that back to my seller. I love, by the way, your Zoom idea or meetup or however one wants to do it, versus just calling them, because I usually just call. So anyway, I love the face-to-face. But what a common theme here with a lot of realtors is the market. It's very hit or miss, and there's really no rhyme or reason, right? It's like one might go on the market in a day and have multiple offers, and one may sit 5 months. And I've had I'm not even exaggerating. I probably have spoken to 30 different realtors, and that's just the sentiment. And I have that same sentiment as well. And, I've been doing this 26 years, and it's like, it's the most unpredictable, I think, like I just said, with no rhyme or reason. So how do you because I think you can say that once to the seller, but they don't care. They just want their house sold at the end of the day. So how do you communicate that in your updates? If there's no change for that week, maybe there's 2 weeks in a row, there's no change. What do you communicate there?
A few different things to unpack there is, while we're talking about what agents can do to avoid price reduction, while we're talking about how agents can improve communications with sellers, it all ties back to when we first share a conversation. I literally posted a video this morning about opportunities that exist in the first call with the seller, the discovery call, and the importance of us setting the stage for what is to come. And Kathy, one of the first things that came to mind is, what patterns are you all experiencing? You said many agents are saying there's some inconsistencies. The data is struggling to find a common thread. Well, then that is the common thread. So what can we as a group of agents be doing if we know that to be true in the current state of affairs? What can we be doing to do the work before the work and hit it head on the first discovery call, hit it head on in the listing consultation, and set the stage for, if this happens, we've already identified it, and we know what the following 3 options could be for next steps based on the fact that you shared this is your goal. So my nudge to you all is, it sounds like you have some very specific circumstances in your market. Hit it head on. One of the reasons you hire me as the listing pro is because of the access to my network. And we pride ourselves on being very communicative with not just agents in our brokerage, but colleague agents and co-op agents throughout the market. A part of my weekly updates with you, one of the data points is I stay connected with agents who either represent buyers that are within the top 3 buying avatars that we've identified for your property. I also stay in touch with listing agents who list and trade properties that are similar, because that's all intel in an inconsistent market. First time I've seen this in decades. Staying in those relationships is key, and it's one of my superpowers. A part of our weekly update is we're going to hit that head on.
Fantastic.
See how that takes the frustrating point and just puts it on the table? Because now, in the beginning, what you're setting the stage for is, I'm experienced.
Yeah.
I'm putting everything, even the not so fun, ugly stuff, on the table, because I have a plan. One little nudge before, and we have time to have some more questions. In this situation we're all faced with, and I don't care how varying degrees of your market conditions, the reality is agents who are listing, I'm going to urge you this fact. Be educated, understand the data, be prepared to share the data. It's not called tell, it's called show and tell. Show and guide is how I like to think of it. If you go back to kindergarten, what did they say? Show and tell. It wasn't agents just telling. It's agents who show and tell, show and guide. Here's the thing. The next time you go to a listing consultation, you walk up to the property, you probably have something, paperwork, things. You're looking at the property, you're kind of doing your quick look, and you press the doorbell, you take your step back because you don't stand on top of the door. Take a deep breath. I want you to remind yourself internally this: I'm educated, I'm confident, and I'm walking in to this opportunity to make a decision if I'm going to acquire this listing. Not press the doorbell, have shaky knees, think about all the nonsense going in the market, and walk in with the mindset of, will I be hired? Throw that BS away. You're walking in with confidence to say, I'm going to lead with curiosity and unpack if I'm going to choose to acquire this listing. And the number of agents I've had share with me, yeah, but Renee, you've been at this a long time. You have the ability to say that. Nonsense. Every agent can say it. If you're one of those rising up agents who maybe you feel like you still need some more context to gain that level of confidence, then bring a partner agent with you. Leverage your relationships, but do not walk into a listing and feel shaky knees like you have to accept whatever terms the seller is proposing, because that's not being better than your fee, and that's not what's best for the consumer in most cases. Consumer needs to hear what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. That's one of the ways that we earn our big income.
Oh, 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 hey. Out here on the grind, chasing dreams in the sun, from the Gulf to the hills, yeah, we're